What's up, everybody? Welcome to Friday night from the forum. I got a crew in the house. I got my guy Seth. I got my guy Joe. And I got the king of Smashup Fantasy, Chris Hauck, everybody.
You guys always raise my ego so much. I love it. Like I'm married, so after a week of just being in the gutter, it's always like picks me up. So thank you.
Well, you just got back from a crazy trip to Antarctica, right? And
yeah,
that's pretty awesome, pretty rad.
It was cool. I'll tell you about it another time over some beers, but the trip was great. Kayak was out on the actual continent, so.
Wait, like this isn't a joke? Like you were actually in Antarctica? I thought this was a
really
bit.
were.
I was playing along for a little bit. Now we know Chris is actually like Bear Grylls down there in Antarctica. Well, can you play sports bets from Antarctica, and can you run Smashup Sports from there as well?
So somewhat. There actually was a little bit of Wi-Fi there on the boat in a couple of the research centers, but yeah, we like spent a night literally just in a bivy sack, like on the continent, no tent or anything. It was pretty nuts. Wow. There's no Wi-Fi, so I was going through sports betting withdrawal.
We are on set with an absolute phenomenon down there.
8 below. He's got snow dogs down there. Jeez.
Super pumped. We got Albert in the chat. What's up, fellas? Got JC. Let's go. Appreciate the support. So as you know, tonight we're going to be going through and we're going to be working through some Smashup Sports lineups. You guys know we have partnered with Smashup Fantasy Sports for our playoff challenge.
Yes,
and last week was epic. I mean, there was a point where my guy Joe was sitting in like the top 7. There was a point where I was sitting in like the top 5. And then it just like, as games played, as things happened, I watched myself. I think I've ended up finishing like 36th, but congratulations to the top 5 from last week, and I'll flash those up here. But yeah, it was a great week. And the cool thing is, if you did, Joe, since you didn't qualify last week, I just want to let you know that you get another chance this week, buddy.
Wow. Favoritism at its finest. I love it.
No, everybody gets another chance this week. We're competing for the weekly prize, and obviously the top 5 qualify for the Super Bowl showdown, along with the top 10 overall point score. So even if you never make it into the top 5, but you're consistently in that top 25 or top 50, you may still make the final, where we're going to give away a $1,000 grand prize. Woo! And one of these bad boys. Woo! Right here.
That's what I need.
That. Doesn't it look so good on my hand?
I'll be used to it.
So glad I'm going to add another one, So, Chris, tell us a little bit about Smashup. Tell the viewers a little bit about Smashup and, what kind of got y'all excited, made y'all create it, and then let's get into some lineups.
Yeah, so we play fantasy for years, right? We are fantasy like aficionados, every sport, every iteration of the game. And wanted something different. And I think what we saw is a lot of cool games out there with mechanics that we thought we could bring over here. And so we've got these Smash cards. To be clear, this is not a card collection game. You're not buying packs or anything. But these are cards you can use based on your knowledge to increase your team's score. Additionally, we've had stuff, not really what this tournament is. We have our single player. There's a little bit more video game-esque. You're going head-to-head, trying to beat like increasingly tough bosses. And really our goal is to have something that feels more fun, more like a game that, aside from just like sports betting, which a lot of sites do now, it gives you a way to play and compete with or against your friends that is a little different than just like standard leagues, which there are a ton of. And Tyler, I think you've got a bunch of listeners here, so a little bit of a twist I'm going to throw at your listeners too, which I think for all the people listening to this tonight, I've got a special promo code for you. So if you're on the fence, if you haven't registered yet, go jump on. There's a promo code FFAN, like Fantasy Football Advice Network, FFAN, SMASH. Put that in, set a lineup for this weekend. If you register and set a lineup for this weekend with that promo code, We're going to just put $5 in your account. You don't have to give us a credit card. Everything's completely free. We're still going to give you $5 just to try it out and just to like become part of the crew because you're here listening to us, watching me drink beer on a Friday night.
Dude, $5 for signing up. Bring it on. I'm wishing I would have signed up this week.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you're rewarding tardiness here. What are we doing, boys? What are we doing?
We're the
A little
Pittsburgh
bit of a
Steelers.
push. Look, if you played last week, hopefully you won like $100 by getting, at the top of the standing. So this is a little bit of a catch up for the other people.
Fair enough.
We got some more folks popping in. Brian, and saying, what a crew. We do have a crew here tonight. And he said, that guy Seth looks like someone I knocked out of the fantasy playoffs. Who delivered a little heat.
I was the 1 seed. I was feeling good. Brian made the rolls too. But, hey, shout out Brian. He's a tall son of a bitch, but he does it right over there. I'll tell you that.
Who killed you? Who do you have on his team that knocked you out?
Oh, I don't even know who he had, honestly. I couldn't tell you. It was a very running back heavy scoring league, so I went like pretty much 0 RB. I just zagged when everyone else zigged and ended up like grabbing both the Tampa Bay running backs in a trade later in the season. Traded for Tony Pollard. It was kind of just really scraping by there, but Brian Hartman, he got it done once again.
Brent Bradford popping in. I finished in the top 50 last week.
Wow.
Congratulations. Congratulations. We got Binking coming in. He said, and Binking announced on the show last week, he is a DFS guy. And he's like, I'm curious how Daniel's got me negative 8.6 fantasy points with the scrambling card this last week. So let's get into that a little bit. I'm sure that Chris can enlighten us. But we're going to pop over to Smashup Fantasy Sports, and this is what the lineup maker looks like. You have $50,000 budget for players, $12,000 budget for cards, and you get build happy. And so let's look at that card that he said he played last week. The scrambling card. Do you know which one that would be?
Scramble Spikes.
There's two. Yeah, this one's Scramble Spikes. So Turbo Boost is a new one we made that gets rid of the negative. It costs a little more. Scramble Spikes. We try to put some green and red text to make it a little more clear. But Scramble Spikes is a gamble because if you want to click on that, it'll pop up the card art. But if you're watching and you didn't know about this before, you can see the card art, you can see the green, you can see the red. With Scramble Spikes, you gain points for scrambling, rushing yards, and touchdowns, but you actually lose some points in your passing yards, right? So last week, Jaden, I think, only ran for about 30, 35 yards, remembering right, but he threw for a couple hundred yards and a touchdown. So this one's cheaper, but it's a risk. If you want to just leverage only his rushing yards and touchdowns, go for Turbo Boost, a new card we added 2 weeks ago. This is a little bit simpler. For this reason. I think this might have been confusing to people.
So I'll pop over to Turbo Boost. So Turbo Boost, your quarterback gets a 2 times multiplier on all rushing yards and rushing touchdowns with no negative. So it doesn't hurt your passing yardage. That one's a little bit more expensive, which makes sense. It looks like it's a $1,500 upcharge.
You were spot on the Daniels numbers, by the way. So good call there.
Yes, Hermit Money, this is live. We are setting DFS lineups. Join our Fantasy Sports Playoff Challenge with Smashup Sports. It's playoff.ffadvice.com, and you can sign up and build your lineup. Let's see. So, and
use the promo code if you just jumped on, FFANSMASH. You'll get $5 just for registering a blank.
FFANSMASH, right?
Bingo.
I'm just making sure I got this in here right. All right, awesome. So let's get lined up. And Chris, you being the big timer at this here, when you go to build your lineup, what do you usually start with? Like when you go for your positions, where do you usually start?
So start a little bit just thinking like, what's the strategy I want to do for the week? So what I usually like to do is think about where are my star players and then kind of fill in the gaps. Unless for whatever reason I know there's a good deal. So like, for example, when CMC and Mason got hurt, I knew Garendo was cheap, so I started there. No one wanted to use him. I like to start with my stars. I think about what stars do I want? What cards do I want to play on them? I don't know, have you guys kind of used the same approach, or what have you guys done so far?
Well, I would say let's just start with that approach, Chris. Let's go for stars. You know, Seth, I know you have a pretty big fix on the betting lines and you know the props there. Who pops in your head with like, I mean, basically, who's Vegas saying is due to have a big week this week?
Yeah, I mean, you look at a guy who's coming back from injury. We haven't seen him in a couple weeks. It's David Montgomery, guys. I mean, right now, depending what book you're looking at, odds for him to score at any time touchdown anywhere from minus 320 to minus 150. So it's a pretty heavy glass of juice you'd have to drink. But over in Smashup, like I think he's a great value there this week, sitting at a price tag of 5,700. I mean, he's someone I'm trying to put in my lineup. I want a lot of people in this Detroit game as a whole, gentlemen, just because, I mean, look, it's a 55.5 point total. That's, 12 more points projected for this game than the other NFC game, or, a whole 2 touchdowns more projected for this game than the Chiefs game. So naturally, I'm kind of more gravitating towards that game. It's on that fast track there in Ford Field that always seems to be trending towards overs as well. So, yeah, I'm really targeting a lot of these Lions players, in particular, Dave Montgomery.
Well, I love that. And you mentioned the Lions lines. So let's just look at that real quick. We'll be able to line up really fast. And I actually kind of preset this before the show. But, there are cards like, for example, this where's it at? I got to go to all.
Is it the
No,
Okay.
so the ride or die.
Yeah, ride or die. So I ran this card last week. I had James Cook in my flex. I also had Josh Allen. And after I ran that, like, Chris, is there a downside to this card at all? Because, I mean, to me, it feels like a great way if you want to stack correlation in a game that ride or die would kind of be the card you're throwing out there, right?
No, absolutely. There's no downside to this. Only a handful of cards with downside. If you click on them, you'll see red text. Red means, you can lose points.
Okay.
Green means it's always positive.
And we're getting what for ride or die? I think 1.25 times it. That's pretty much what we're getting for all correlated players.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you don't get anything for the quarterback, but any player on the quarterback's team, you get a 25% bonus. So 1.25 exactly.
Would that also count the kicker there and Jake Bates as well if we're playing Jared Goff?
Kicker and the defense.
Okay. Yeah,
Awesome.
like honestly, I was building out my lineup earlier and I had almost this exact lineup that you're putting together, Tyler, except I did not pay up for Amon-Ra St. Brown. I couldn't afford him. So I think I had Xavier Worthy as my other wide receiver there next to Jameson. But I mean, it's hard to get away from them. And if you want to stay correlated, you can kind of stay in the same game. I don't know how anyone else feels about it, but Diami Brown's kind of running around there as a good value if you want to pay up for Terry McLaurin as well.
So, I built this out earlier, and you end up with about a $7,100 budget left over for a flex, which gives you, if you go a non-Lions player, gives you A.J. Brown, Kyron Williams, James Cook, McLaurin. Are there any of these guys that we think are going to be top-notch?
McLaurin. I don't think there's going to be any punting in that game.
McLaurin? No. Okay, so, McLaurin, that says we still got $800 left. But you could actually, is McLaurin playing – let's do this because I had another idea. So let's grab somebody that's playing at home, like an A.J. Brown. We'll go James Cook here. So if you go this, you have the ride or die. So you have a 1.25 bonus on all Lions players. So all these Lions players are going to get a 1.25 bonus except for James Cook. Then there's another card called Home Field Advantage. Detroit's playing at home. The Bills are playing at home. So already, just based off those two cards with the $1,000 budget left, you're averaging 153. Then maybe let's throw this. Let's throw that kicker card on there. Extra credit. I love that card. That's a favorite. That gets you 3 points for every field goal, and we're saying the Lions is going to be a high-scoring game. So at that point, you're looking at a 160 projection total for a full, but you're banking everything on the Lions.
And that would put you at like 16th last week.
Yeah, that I like it. I like that play. Like I think personally, like I'm still potentially switching a couple things out of this lineup, but I think it's a great base play, and I think it's a great way to kind of stack those cards up in your advantage because. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like the cards are really something that can make or break your week on a regular basis.
Absolutely. We see it all the time. Usually the person with the top points from players is not the winner of the week. Now you got to do both, right? You can't miss on the players, but it's a balance. So you got to nail your cards. You got to know the game. You got to know the matchups.
Yeah.
To really take it home.
The person last week crushed. They put up 141 just with cards.
Wow.
Woo.
Or not just with cards. I'm sorry, just with players.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Hermit Money said, my cousin is a waitress at Applebee's and saw David Montgomery drinking heavily on Tuesday. She said he looked depressed.
No way. Dave Montgomery ain't going to Applebee's. Come on.
I don't know if it's true, but we're going to abandon ship on Monty and the Lions just in
I play all my best sports when I'm depressed. When I'm happy is when you don't want to bet on me. So I think this might be a good thing, actually.
Good point.
So Binking had a question, Chris, and you can answer this. He said, can you leave a position blank and spend up elsewhere?
You absolutely can. So I know on a lot of the other sites, you have to fill your whole lineup. Specifically with the cards, with everything we do, we want to give people maximum flexibility. So one of the things we're talking about, I was messing on Instagram with a user who was showing me a lineup, asking some questions, is that it might make sense, for example, to leave a defense blank and see, can I actually put points on their players? Or a quarterback. So with hellacious halfbacks, moving into a hellacious build, because your quarterback scoring goes down, it might make sense to not put a quarterback and to make your other players better players.
Hellacious halfback was extremely popular among some of the top teams last week doing that strategy from what I saw.
It is surprisingly hit or miss. It's a card that looks really powerful, but you've got to nail it. You can have the top running backs. If they just play okay, you've kind of put all your eggs in that basket. But if they crush it, it can vault you to the top of the standings.
Freaking love it. Love it. Brian said, he said, sure can. My freaking negative 23 last week. Man, that's one thing I love about this game. And kudos to you guys, Chris, over at Smashup. I mean, the nuance of the power-ups bring in so much diversity into it. I mean, I found myself all season, I'm playing hellacious halfbacks and I'm rolling at quarterback with Spencer Rattler, and I don't even care. And then I'm playing a card like this one right here. Projectile dysfunction, where you get 1 point per incomplete pass. So Spencer Rattler's ended me with 30 points at quarterback, because now that is one nuance that you need to know for the viewers. All cards actually affect your lineup after scoring is completed. So if Rattler scored 15 regular points or 20 regular points, and then you had a 0.25 multiplier, he's going to get 5 points, and that's not going to affect your card points. So if he has 20 incomplete passes and you get 20 points for this card, well, then that 20 is going to be added to the 5 and you're going to get that score. So all of those things happen. The cards happen after the actual scoring. That's correct, Chris?
Yeah, you can think of the cards as almost being there are points for the card. Think of the cards like a player. So one of the things people have asked before is, okay, let's say I played starting quarterback and all-pro quarterback on a player. Are they separate or do they stack? The cards don't stack. So you would get the points for each card. You don't get a 1.5 multiplier and then a 2 times multiplier on the 1.5. So as simple as possible, each card is individual and each card gets an associated points with it. Which is why, like you said, even if you play halfbacks and your quarterback score goes down, if you play projectile dysfunction, if you play goldfish memory, if you play another card that gets you quarterback points, the card still scores the full points.
That's awesome. All right, so Joe, start us off here on this. He said, He said, also, I had Golden Arm with Daniels last week, and he threw 2 touchdowns, only got me 8 points with it. Well, if you had negative points as a standard scoring, right, and then added your point, that could be an effective piece of that. Obviously, I don't know.
So Golden Arm gets you 8 points for touchdown pass instead of 4. Daniels had 2 touchdowns. I think the scoring is correct on that one.
Awesome. Okay, so let's get into Joe. Start us off with one here. Let me know who your ride or die is, or your roll with it this week guy is.
Yeah, so it's funny that you say that. So looking at like my strategy for this week, and I probably shouldn't say this out loud since you have all these people watching, but I don't care. How I'm approaching this week is that there are 3 or 4 cards that offer up a 30-point bonus if you hit the card, right? Ooh. So there is, let me see here. So you have the defense who you think is going to get cooked. So burnt ends. If you allow 35 or more points, you get 30 points.
So who's going to get cooked?
Washington.
All right, we're going to put Washington in. They're super cheap. They're the cheapest defense on the docket. And we're going to play burnt ends, which for those viewers, so you know what he's saying, it says if your defense allows 35 points. So if they get scored, if the other team scores 35 points on them, then this card is worth 30 points. That's a huge value.
I've never had burnt ends the food. I've never had burnt ends.
They're incredible. Stop everything that you're doing. Get off the show and like.
I've heard that. I've heard that from multiple people. So I'm a little bit hungry for it now. Actually, very much from the north side of this country, this great country. So have yet to try that Kansas City burnt ends. Tyler, I imagine you being in Tennessee, I imagine you've ventured a time or two down that street.
You know, if it's something that can be grilled or something that can be smoked or, you know, we've had it down here, you know, like you can just go 2 miles. There's a new barbecue restaurant or something that you've never heard of. You know, I mentioned it before, like literally a block from our Toyota dealership is Tony Pollard's folks barbecue restaurant called Pollard's, and it's a good stop, by the way.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
So keep us rolling, Joe. What else you got?
All right. So then another card that I think is a pretty easy, especially this week for 30, is going to be Mr. Relevant. So it's a $4,000 card, but you get 250 passing yards and 20 rushing yards, 30 points.
So who are you playing on?
You got to set the quarterback first before you can play it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have Lamar in my lineup right now because I think that, like, him and Josh Allen, like, you pick who you think is going to win that game and score more. It's one of those two is going to hit that.
All right, so we're rolling Josh Allen. I love it. Projected 60-point potential bonus right now based on the cards I play. Keep us going. What else you got?
Right, and so then my third card that I'm going to play is going to be Speed Demon.
Okay, that's going to
be a wide receiver card. And so basically what that does, if you have a reception of 40 yards or more, that's another 30 points.
Holy cow.
So you're not going to see this as like in your projection like you did with the last week, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if these, like, so for example, I played the rushing equivalent of this last week, which is called, let me see, Unstoppable Freight Train. So 30-yard run or more, you get 30 points. So I ran that with Derrick Henry last week. Derrick Henry had like a 70-point week. So it's like if I can hit on all 3 of these,
it's 90.
That's 90 right there, right? And so it's like
something we need to fix. Maybe you guys can give us some advice, but in the projections, it's kind of hard to like project what's the probability somebody gets the 30 points. So
right.
Yeah, it's not showing your projected score.
Right. And so last week for me, it was like my strategy last week was all in about V for victory. I'm going to pick players who I think are going to win, and then I'm going to get the 1.25 multiplier. With the score that I had last week, or even if you look at the person that came in first place, that 1.25 only netted them 40 extra points. So it's like like that's good, that's great, but then half of the players that I picked, they lost, and then I ended up getting like 4 points out of the V for victory because clearly I don't know ball.
Makes sense.
So the guy that I actually have for the 40 piece for the receiver is Terry McLaurin.
Okay,
the Lions in the last 5 weeks have been the number 1 team to go against as a wide receiver. I know they had that great game against the Vikings. I have a little bit more faith in Jaden Daniels than I do than Sam Darnold and the Ghosts.
All right, so we got 1,000 left in the card budget. We've got our 3 studs essentially that we're depending on. Banking popping in the chat. He said, "I like JMO with that Speed Demon card. Anytime JMO gets the ball, it could always be a 30, 40 yard.
I like that. I like that.
JMO is pretty cheap. So in the wide receiver base, he's at 6,100. I'd say that's cheap. It's $1,500 cheaper than the top guy in Nico Collins, but I mean he averages a reception like that a game, so it's a pretty good call there, Binking. So if this is your core, Joe, what are you looking to do to kind of fill it out?
So I am not smart enough to figure out like all of the like expensive stuff. So I like to do the tight end, the kicker, and the defense because they're all cheaper players. So when I'm setting the lineup, I'm always looking at the average remaining in the corner. And then I can figure out, okay, I have 5 cards. I have $20,000. What am I going to do, or whatever that looks like. Bates feels like the obvious kicker play for me. They're the favored team by a large margin. You have that $1,000, so you can get the 3 points for extra points with the extra credit. So that seems pretty obvious to me. With the highest implied score, with the highest spread of the week, it's kind of what I'm looking for from a kicker perspective. Tight ends, I'm actually willing to go with Kelsey here. I think that the Chiefs kind of play pretend all year, and then they're like, oh yeah, we have this Hall of Fame guy that we're about to unleash this week. So roll with that. And then you still have quite a bit of money to kind of mess around.
Yeah, 26,000. We got Trackus in the chat over on Facebook. What's up, fellas? What's up, Trackus? Awesome dude. Let's see. How many entries are you guys expecting this week in the contest overall? Right now, registration is sitting at 370.
Wow.
I think it is the current volume of players in. I expect that to grow. I see us probably approaching 500. That's where I'd like to be. But you get a shot each week. So you're trying to score in the top 5, one of the 3 playoff weeks to qualify, or you're trying to be in the top 10 in overall points through all 3 weeks to qualify for the Super Bowl Showdown. The Super Bowl Showdown will be those top 25 teams competing for $1,000. And again, one of these bad boys.
And so to that point, Tyler, if you are in the top 5 and in a single week, and then in the top 10, it's the top 10 of whatever's left, right?
Right.
Yeah. The other thing that I wanted to point out, so Bink was asking about his score for the Daniels card. The other thing to look at when you're reviewing your scores is it's the power up cards. You're not going to see that on the player score. So the Daniels 8 points. The 4-point passing touchdown is what you'll see on his score. Why you had the -8 and those different things was the passing demotion that you got plus whatever you got from the other card. So that's why it probably looks a little bit different than what you're maybe expecting, but the math is definitely right.
Yeah, I haven't had any issues with scoring on the platform. You guys have done a great job over there, Chris. Okay, so we've got $26,000 left in budget. We've already played our big cards. So I think in these 4 spots, we're going for your top potential points. So Seth, give me if there was a running back or a wide receiver that you wanted to spend up for, your guy that you have to have, you don't care about the budget, who are you putting in your lineup this week?
Yeah, I mean, I know it's super chalky, but give me Saquon Barkley, man. Last time he played the Rams, who went for 255 yards. They have, kind of bowed up in the run defense as of lately, but they've been playing a lot of backup running backs. They haven't, they've been playing the Alexander Madisons and the Jets backups and a bunch of Jags at the position. I think Saquon's going to go out. I think they're going to have just a great game plan overall to get him back involved. And even last week, man, Cam Akers, he took 5 carries for 39 yards. Saquon, at this point, he's gone over 100 yards so many times this season, including 7 of the last 8 games coming into this one. So I'm going to continue to back Saquon Barkley right now. Most sports books have him right around 111, 112 and a half yards. So if I can get that and a touchdown, I feel really safe with Saquon, specifically against the Rams. So he would be my 1A, and I don't think you can go wrong if you want to throw out potentially like a Nico Collins too, just because it seems like him and Stroud are just unbelievable together. It's just unreal how good Nico Collins is. I mean, I don't think anyone coming out of Michigan thought this guy, was going to be one of the next greatest receivers currently playing in the NFL. But I mean, really took that third-year leap last year and has not looked back.
Yeah, no, I love that take. So we're going to roll with both of those. Both those are the most expensive players at that position, which leaves us with about a $5,000 average left for players. I'm going to get real quick and hit this question from Binking to you, Joe. With being how chalky Kelsey will be, are you guys considering playing a card with him or just running one without?
I probably wouldn't, based on the strategy that I'm running. Kelsey isn't really like the 40-yard bomb kind of guy.
Yeah.
The couple cards that would be interesting for me, I think a little too rich for my blood would be like the Hall of Fame tight end where you get a ×3 to the score. That seems pretty rich for me. All Pro is a 2.5, $1,000 cheaper. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I probably wouldn't. If I was going to run a card,
chalk though. Great point about the chalk. Absolutely. Like he's gonna. Is he usually, Chris, like the most rostered tight end at this point in the season with a lot of casual players?
He was last year. This year, obviously, been a little bit different with the slow start. Obviously, had a slow start last year, but came on sooner.
Mm-hmm.
This year, I feel like his age is catching up a little bit. But maybe the card name for him, anti-hero. Well, name for his significant other. Anti-hero might be one if you think he's going to get in the end zone.
So that card that he's talking about, I'll throw it up on the screen real quick.
Banger of a song, by the way. Absolute banger.
Anti-hero, all points and touchdowns scored by your tight end get a 3 times multiplier, which means every touchdown doesn't get you 6, it gets you 18.
Wow.
And how many touchdowns has Mark Andrews scored like in a row? Like it's like what, like 6 or 7 weeks? Like that card screamed like Mark Andrews to me too.
Isn't it crazy after, just the absolute panic that fantasy football managers were having earlier this season with Mandrews? I mean, he comes back and has just a great second half, and as our guy Joe's alluding to, just catching all these touchdowns lately. It's been great, and there we were in week 1 and spending all our fab on Isaiah Likely. Guilty as charged, baby.
At least you're owning it, baby. At least you're owning it. That's awesome. All right, so we've got 2 spots here left, running back and a flex spot. We've got $10,000 left. So let's actually hit flex so that we can see everybody that's available to us. And we really have a choice to make. We can go somebody. We got 10,000. So let's look for a cheap value.
Dimey Brown, do it, Tyler. You want to.
He played nice last week for sure.
Where is he even at?
Rashad Bateman also feels like a very.
Oh my goodness!
If you're running Lamar out there, I don't mind having Bateman as well. Yeah, Bateman might be a good call, especially. Do we have any reports whether Zay Flowers officially?
Zay's doubtful. I don't think he's gonna play.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind running Bateman out then if you're looking for a value. But
so with Bateman at running back, that gives us a shot at Brian Robinson Jr., Eckler, Hunt, and nobody that you're really excited about, right? So let's punt that for a second and let's go back down here and let's go with Cess Diami Brown call at 3,900. So that leaves us with 6,300, which means we can get a Montgomery. We can get we got to play a running back.
That would be kind of sick. I'm gonna have to screenshot this before we get off the show.
So you want to roll with Montgomery here?
I would.
Oh, you got it,
guys
man.
that are listed for
sure. You can't trust those other guys. No way.
So we have 120 point projected bonus, but you have to think between burn-ins, the wide receiver call, the speed demon, and the play on Lamar, you have a potential at 90 points there. So really this projection, even if you split that in half, is probably sitting around 165.
Sure.
I'm going to say one other thing. If we're rolling with Saquon here, which I didn't do in my initial lineup, I would probably take that off of Terry McLaurin and put the 30-yard run on Barkley, because he pretty much does that every week. He breaks one at some point.
Well, and you still have $700 left. So really we could, I mean, like, let's look at this real quick. So and it's good to churn your lineups like this. So we were playing Kelsey. Let's obviously there was some pump up on Mandrews. Well, Mandrews is $500 cheaper. So we play Andrews. Let's take out Monty. Then that gives us at the running back position access to Kyron, James Cook, Mixon. Do you like any of those three over Montgomery enough to punt down to Andrews?
You could also stick with Montgomery and take a look at someone other than Brown.
Yeah. As much as I like Diami Brown, I wouldn't mind seeing what else you could get from him.
All right, so let's roll with that. Scroll down. As far as flex, you can get Eckler, Kareem Hunt, Shakir, Kelsey, Bateman, Hopkins. Anybody screaming at you there?
I would love Worthy if we just had another extra $100. I mean, I think Worthy's been a guy in that offense.
Okay. You could tear down from Lamar, honestly. I mean, going from Lamar to Josh Allen, I mean, how tough of a life is that?
So if we let's say if we do that, let's go down to Allen. That's your $100 right there. Put our card back on him, which was what was that card?
Mr. Relevant. And I actually feel more confident about Josh Allen hitting that than Lamar, because Lamar, it could very easily throw for like 225.
And there it is. We got Worthy in there. So that would be the lineup.
I probably will play this tomorrow.
It's not bad. It's exciting. Cool. So let's roll with another one. Loving the lineups tonight, boys. And I hope you guys are watching. You're taking notes. There's been several really good ones popped up tonight that you can kind of roll with. I will say I was surprised, Chris, at the values and how they kind of differentiated in these playoff rounds. I felt like I could get a really, really good roster that I was excited about with my budget, but also like, even if everybody can get, like, if you get a really big, like a really good, lineup, you can still, like, the cards still add that nuance where it could change everything,
Well, a minor story on that. We were really debating last year because right now there's still a lot of teams. In the conference finals and the Super Bowl, much fewer teams. We were concerned, are we going to have a lot of ties? But with the cards, there are very few ties because it had a lot more variability.
Yeah, which, by the way, I think if for some reason there is a tie in the Super Bowl showdown, I believe the tiebreaker will go to most points throughout the whole tournament. Is that true?
I thought it was whoever sent Tyler the most money, but up to you guys. We can do most points.
Chris, that's a great idea. I'm very open to that.
Tyler, what's your Venmo again?
Let me go ahead and flash that up on the screen real quick. No.
Tyler, are you also the one that was doing that music festival with Ja Rule?
We're not going to talk about that on this show. I'm just kidding. All right, so let's roll through another lineup. I'm loving these. This is awesome stuff. So Chris, you start us off on this one. I know I've watched your lineups. I've studied how you play this game. And I know you love the hellacious halfbacks card or play. So I don't know if you're doing that this week, but tell us a little bit about how you would like to start a lineup off here.
So playoffs is a bit different. Regular season, my favorite. And by the way, our card prices change periodically, so the meta changes a bit. You can't just always have one thing you like to do. For a while, I was doing the worst quarterback with goldfish memory, the defense with takeaway card that was playing that quarterback. So every turnover got a lot of points, and then halfbacks. This week, here's what I've got. Jaden Daniels, a quarterback.
All right, Jane Daniels at quarterback.
I think the Lions win. I think they might win by a decent amount, but I think because of that, Jaden is throwing and he's running for his life. So then I've got my running back stack. I've got Saquon running back 1, Derrick Henry running back 2, Gibbs a flex.
Oh man,
Gibbs in the flex.
I am leaning into the big RBs.
Ah,
And I've got. I'll skip ahead right now. Someone asked a question earlier. I've got no defense. I do not trust any this week. Too many good offenses. So I've got instead Nico as wide receiver 1.
this is wild.
Cup is wide receiver 2. Now I've debated, do I go down a little bit on 1, move up from Cup? I might change that before tomorrow. I don't fully trust Cup. If I get a little bit higher, I get someone like McLaurin. So maybe I ultimately go for like Amon-Ra McLaurin instead. But for now, those two. Isaiah Likely is my tight end. Like Andrews, especially if Flowers does not play. I think he gets a few extra targets. We'll see. And then Jake Bates is my kicker.
And no defense.
No defense.
Okay.
Then for my cards, I'm going not with the scramble spikes that can lose me points, but with that turbo boost.
Okay, so that's
I could be wrong, but the Lions, they allowed like the 4th or 5th most rushing yards to quarterbacks this year. I think Daniels might be running for his life because they do put pressure. So I think he might get a good amount of running yards. I'm playing my hellacious halfback, which you guys know I love. I'm going to roll the dice on that.
The Lions were 4th in QB rushing, by the way, 454 yards.
And then putting 2 cards on Gibbs, starting running back. Give me 1.5 times his points, an extra 50%. Technically, I think most projected points, if I was only aiming at projections, Saquon's projected for more. But that Washington run defense is soft. I like Gibbs there. And then with the last 500, I'm doing Seabird's Confidence, which gives you 3 points if you pick the team that's going to win. I'm going to put that on Gibbs as well because I think the Lions beat the Redskins. That gets me to 166.
Wow.
I'm so glad that you had us go before him.
Yeah.
And I'll say this: I'm in a group chat with some friends. We did a league. They're playing. Some in tournament champions. Some of these other games. One of my friends posted a lineup. Well, he didn't show the lineup. He posted his top projection. He got this up to 230, but he will not show us what the players or cards were. So
230 on the projection.
Apparently, you can do higher.
Wow. What a good lineup there. So, and that answers your question, Binking. Obviously he's going in with no defense. No defense would have been better for me last week. Last week I rolled with Denver, ended up with -2 points. So definitely would have been better to not have a defense. And then I probably could have bought up and played a little bit better. Binking's coming in. He said, I have the same 3 running backs. I like the call. I like this lineup a lot, actually. I like the hellacious halfbacks card. It's a good. Now, I did see a guy last week, and he did like this where he put all his efforts into the running back position, but he played hellacious halfbacks and he played the hurricane season. Yeah. Which gives you a bad multiplier on your wide receivers, but basically on his running backs, he was getting, a whole 125% more points because he had the 0.5 bonus from that and then the 0.75 bonus from hellacious halfbacks. So if you do go running back heavy, that's a good way to go at it. Man, what a lineup. How you feeling about this, Seth? If you're rolling with this in on the Saturday, how you feel?
I feel a lot worse about my lineup now. I'll tell you that much right now. Not feeling like after seeing a guy who not only has played this game for quite some time, but damn near invented it. I'm not feeling great. Not feeling feeling great if I have that lineup, but not feeling great about my all Lions lineup. That's for sure.
Well, let me ask you this one though. Do you like the receivers is my debate? Do you like Nico and Cup, or would you squish a little more towards the middle and do like maybe? McLaurin, and I don't know how far down you'd have to go to get McLaurin, but
I mean, yeah, like I don't love having a lot of Rams exposure this week just because I really believe in that Philadelphia defense. So I would definitely try to pivot somewhere else from that. But I mean, I love the running back approach, man. And like we're at the time in the year where these teams, they're really going to be relying, or at least should be relying heavily on their running backs. That's why when you are an Eagles team or a Baltimore team, you go out and you get Saquon Barkley, you go out and get Derrick Henry, right? Like this is what they didn't have both these teams a year ago. So I think they get the work, and I love fitting both those guys plus Gibbs into your lineup. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, I think about like Nico Collins a lot too, where the Chiefs, they are very Belichick-esque in the sense that they will take your best player and shut them down. I think that they're going to go after Nico because they lost Deontay Johnson, so who else do they really have?
You act like Deontay Johnson is a loss, Joe. Come on here. Take it easy.
That's awesome.
Man's been in 4 cities in the last year.
Shout out to the ESPN graphics guy. He's been working overtime.
Yeah, for real.
That's awesome. So I guess let's look at that for. So you got $100 budget difference. So if we do take Cooper Kupp, what spot are you willing to take down a little bit to maybe fit in a McLaurin? I think if I'm right, let's see, you're about from Kupp to McLaurin is about $1,000. So it's pretty expensive. I don't know. If we go at tight end, I don't know if there's anybody that can really hit below likely 1,000. You have to get down here to 2,500. Yeah, I don't think you have anybody really there.
I think he's your best budget play. So yeah.
Now I will say this: if you were to go like that's only $100 difference. Higbee surprised me last week with his usage. I mean, they really fed him. Let's see here. So Philly Mike OG is coming in. Appreciate you tuning. He said they're calling for heavy snow in Philly. Snow will start at 8 a.m., picking up heavy around 3 p.m. kickoff. The storm is at its heaviest 3 to 7. Any thoughts on starting certain guys now? I love this. How do you feel about the snow? I know you're up there in PA, Seth.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you're pretty close too, Joe, right?
Ohio's
like close-ish, not to Philly though.
Yeah. So here's the interesting thing, and I think Joe can probably help me out with this. But like when I grew up in Western Pennsylvania, the ice box of Pennsylvania. Up there, we'd get all the lake effect coming off Erie, and now I'm out in the eastern side. Only about 2 hours from Philly or so, and the weather here, the snow here, despite what the forecast says, it's usually not as bad. And it's usually like if you are getting snow, it might be a flurry. It's usually not a lot that's going to stick on the ground. So I wouldn't be too worried about it. Like I'm sure there will be snow, but snow in eastern PA is a lot different than snow in western PA or western New York specifically. Like this isn't Buffalo. So I wouldn't worry too much about it, Mike. But obviously Mike knows he's probably from Philly as well. So, probably getting his cheesesteaks down there at Angelo's every Wednesday night. So Mike might know a little bit better than us. But, hey, I think it's another reason you go out and you play Saquon Barkley, right?
It would make me nervous about the pass catchers. I don't think A.J. Brown's going to be able to read his book this week. So, who knows?
Yeah.
Just play more
Barkley. Absolutely.
So I'm going to build one out here, and I'm going to keep the hellacious halfbacks. Let's go running back heavy on this one. We're going to go Barkley, but I want to save a little money. I want to try to save a little money so I can bump my receivers. I really like Gibbs. Then the question comes, Derrick Henry in Buffalo, or can James Cook have a day against Baltimore in the run game? Are there any of these running backs that are a little bit cheaper? I want Gibbs in because I think they still limit Monty a little bit. Are there any of these that you think could have somewhat of a strong outing?
I will just say this. If you do like Cook, it would also set you up to maybe do home field advantage.
Okay, so let's roll with that. So we got James Cook, we got Saquon, we got Gibbs. Let's go ahead and lock in a defense. I actually really like Houston this week against Kansas City. Kansas City has not been great. Houston's defense is on fire. And I could see Mahomes getting sacked in this game. He's had trouble at his starting left tackle position all season. I could see him taking a couple sacks here and them struggling. I actually have this game not high scoring. I think the Vegas odds are pretty close to the same. And you'll have to check me on that, Seth. I know that you kind of follow it a little bit more than I do. But I don't mind Houston as a defensive play there. Or you may go no defense.
42.5.
Yeah. I think if you're playing a defense, I think Houston or Kansas City is kind of the way to go. I like Kansas City personally. CJ Stroud, I mean, how many picks has this guy thrown this year, Joe? I mean, it's got to be almost every damn game.
The difference is $1,100 though, from KC to Houston.
Yeah, 20 picks on the.
I will say though, depending on what your field card, if you do home field advantage though, okay for a defense, but keep in mind you're going to get a bonus on your home teams and a detriment, a bit of a negative on your away teams. What do you think about that?
That is true. If I was to play a home field advantage defense, I may want to save the little bit of money and go with Philly against the Rams.
Especially that snow.
Yeah, especially with that snow.
So here's something that's interesting. So if you don't really want to pay up for the defense and you have a defense that's an away team that you don't think is going to win and they go negative, technically that card would make them less negative.
Also true.
That's some big math. That's some bit. That's above
I failed
my
out of math in
right
college,
there.
so don't take my word for it.
That's above my pay grade, Joe.
What does X equal here, Joe?
Mike letting us know Mike Tomlin signed an extension.
No, this can't be real, Phil.
That was last year.
Don't do that to me, man. Coming from my head, right? Listen. I've had a tough week here, Mike, in the great state of PA. Not only did the Penn State Nittany Lions lose last Thursday night in heartbreaking fashion, Steelers lose on Saturday. So I've been trying to pick myself up this week. I barely got out of bed last Sunday morning. Come on, Mike. I don't need that right now. Easy on the kid. Easy on the kid.
Love it. So at wide receiver, I want McLaurin in the lineup. And then the next piece is, another receiver. I kind of want to roll with Puka. I think the targets are there, and this is why I'll show you in a minute. So as far as line, so we've still got 11,200 left, which is pretty thin. So let's look at quarterback. Maybe we put, if we're playing like a hellacious halfbacks and we think they're going to struggle or they're going to have to throw a lot to keep up, maybe we roll with a CJ Stroud here at 5,000. Leaves me.
Call. I will say, by the way, just for listeners, not to influence your lineup, you could also go no quarterback.
Whoa.
Put all your money in other positions.
Holy cow.
So let's look at tight end. I got 6,200 left, so I could really go after a top guy. I don't mind Laporta this week against Washington. I do think that they score a lot of points and he can be involved. I don't mind Kelsey. Let's try to save a little money right there. Play a kicker. We don't have enough for a kicker, so we got to go cheaper than Laporta. Let's just put a kicker in. Let's go with the offense we think will move the ball and they get in field goal range a lot.
Harrison Butker.
Do we like Butker or Fairburn? It's $100 difference.
I feel like Fairburn's been struggling kicking the ball.
Yeah.
And honestly,
I don't trust Fairburn.
if I go Butker, I think I lean Bass because the Bills have been great at moving the ball, but they've not been great at finishing. Surprising.
That game also has a way higher over-under too.
So let's go that, and then at tight end, that gives me access to like a Dalton Kincaid, who was highlighted, a Tyler Higbee, who was highlighted, Likely, who played. So let's just go with the top guy. I don't mind him. So there at the hellacious halfbacks, we're looking at 32 points. And then based on the let's see here. We got a couple people popping in the chat. Let me make sure I don't miss them. Philly Mike, how do I fit Barkley, Henry, and Gibbs? So if you just rewind the video afterwards, because Chris just put a lineup together with Barkley and Gibbs and Henry and was still able to grab Nico Collins. It was a killer lineup. He did not play a defense.
Yeah.
No, don't look at it. It was too good.
He said, I feel like it's impossible. It's not impossible. We just did it live on air. He said, Mike, you punt one position.
Yep.
Curtis Samuel is dirt cheap. That was he had a big catch last week.
Buddy, I've been on these airwaves with Tyler for about 365 days, and I think about 364 when we talked about Curtis Samuel. So, but come on. We don't need any of that, Philly Mike. None of that.
Don't be salty because he had a 40-yard touchdown last week. Like all of a
sudden, finally.
There's your play
when
for the
it counts.
30-pointer.
And you know what? Here's the thing. Nobody played him last week. Nobody played him.
Yeah, I was about to say, didn't help all those underdog best ball teams you had with him on.
I actually did pretty good, but you keep hating, buddy. You keep hating.
I will. Here for life, baby.
I love it. So, you can go with Kincaid. Now, as far as this lineup goes, there's a couple things that I might key in on. One, you mentioned the Kansas City-Houston game and the way that, it's probably going to be Houston trying to keep up, right? And we're going to see some defense. Stroud's had picks and things like that. So maybe we go to the cards and we play like let me go to quarterback here. We play like a goldfish memory, which would be 8 points for an interception instead of -2. That would be a good one. Or maybe we go with projectile dysfunction. This has been one of my favorites all season.
Sounds dirty.
Based on the it is a 1 point per incomplete pass. So if you had to play one of those, Chris, on Stroud, which one are you going? Because I think we need to supplement his what he won't do on this weekend.
Depends if you want upside or safety. I think projectile is safety. You're going to get some points. Goldfish, I like the regular season on people like DTR and Jameis Winston. That was like a magical combination. But it's a little riskier because you might get 0.
So maybe we go projectile dysfunction on Stroud. So that leaves us with $3,000 budget left, and we're currently sitting at a 159 projection.
Wow.
I really like man.
No, so if you went for James Cook, roll the dice is one that is pretty powerful. Not saying we redo the lineup, but just for your listeners.
Roll the dice is if the selected player plays less than 30 offensive snaps, you get 3 times their score. Actually, you know what? That would be a great play for David Montgomery. I don't see Montgomery getting 30 snaps, but I do see him potentially getting a touchdown or 2. So if he gets a touchdown, you could be looking at, 18 points per singular touchdown for playing that. And I do think they limited snaps. It's his first game back from injury, and they're going to put him in when it matters. So that's a great card, especially for that player. And it's kind of making me reconsider, where maybe I can save some money. But for now, starting wide receiver, maybe I take this 1.5 bonus and we put it on. I think I like McLaurin to be more effective. That puts us at a 166 total potential score there. Now, I think the Dalton Kincaid's is pretty light, but we can also shift that. So, like, if I don't want to go Puka, right, because that's a tough defense. And let's say
I wonder for the listeners, because they got the question, what if you put Puka back? What if you try a lineup now, just a little amendment to this where you remove Stroud? Go quarterback, because that'll make your Palacious halfbacks higher, and you've got a little more points for another card.
So no quarterback, and then let me actually remove the card here. So that gives us 7,000 available points. So let's look at
5,000 per players too, so you can up some your tight end or your other players.
Oh, you're right. Let's bump tight end. I love that. We can go top available. We got $8,700 budget. We could even do this. Let's do this. Let's go Henry in the flex at tight end. Let's go Kelsey. No quarterback. You still got 2,400. Anything else we want to upgrade? Let's upgrade everything. Let's go here. Kicker. Who's the best we got? Tucker. I like Bates better. Defense. Let's bump defense up and go with Kansas City instead. We still got $1,300 left. It's looking pretty good. Then one card that I would really like for this play would be a wide receiver. I really like Catching Smoke for Puka. That is 2 points per reception on top of his regular catches, and we know he gets fed. You're probably looking at getting I would say probably 14 to 20 points from that play on him. And we've still got a $2,000 budget left. Maybe let's see. Shoot, extra credit on Bates. What else can we get?
You could do the Moneyball cap ball, just get a few points for the player budget left, and then pick a team you think is going to win with Seabird.
And then we already said we think the Lions are going to win. That puts us at a 175 projection total, which was higher than when we had a quarterback in. So that's pretty awesome.
And that's including in that projection the card points as well.
Yeah, that is including the card points in this one.
A few, like Seabird's confidence, it does not give a projection.
Right, yeah.
Winning, but so it does for most, but this still might be a little conservative.
So that's a great potential play. I love the nuances of this game. Let me get back over to the chat. It said your lineup doesn't have to fill. We went over that. Let's see. Apparently, Eagles win, and so do Commanders. Eagles host Commanders while the Chiefs host the Ravens. Ravens win, so he is going Super Bowl. Eagles, Ravens, Super Bowl, and Eagles win. Obviously, Philly Mike has a little bit of I guess home field advantage in that prediction there. Let's see. He said, I think defense can provide leverage this week with the right defense and the right card. I do agree with that too. Monty definitely won't see 30 snaps. That's a free card. I think you see a big bonus there. He said, would you rather be given $250,000 right now or have a chance to tackle Derrick Henry in open field 3 times for $10 million?
$250K. There's no way I'm dying.
Yeah, I'm good.
The crazy thing is I like that's like that. I feel like that's the go-to answer. Like the competitor in me is like, I kind of just want to try. Like even if I can just shoelace them, I may get knocked out. I may be hurt afterwards severely, but if I can just like somehow get an ankle,
I don't even think you could. I don't think any of us could touch him. I don't even think I might hand on him.
I'm literally concerned for my life. Joe, you have a child on the way. You cannot afford to die tackling Derrick Henry.
Yeah, but my deductible's already going to be hit.
Yeah.
That's right, bro. You roll the dice. It's literally a card.
Yeah, I'm going to be bankrupt if I try to tackle Derrick Henry. Good point, Joe.
Yeah, you got to.
Joe dies. Does his wife still get the $1 million? This might set his kid up for life. I just want to know the rules.
Good point.
That is incredible. I feel like I would just for $10 million, I feel like I would just have to try. Like I would beat myself up for the rest of my life knowing that I've been an athlete if I didn't at least try with $10 million on the line.
How wide is it the full field? Because I don't think I could catch him. If it's Oklahoma drill, I feel like I could probably throw my body.
Open field. He said open field, Joe. Open field.
Yeah, there's no chance.
I ain't touching him. I ain't gonna hand on him.
Here's the thing, though. Even let's just say it was narrow. Let's say it was like a small hallway.
Oh, beware. Oh, yeah.
He would run me over. Like, it doesn't matter. It's not a question of can I catch him. He would just truck me, and I would be dead.
And you would be dead.
Tyler, I think you might have convinced me. When does the dad strength unlock?
I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna put myself out there. I'm gonna sacrifice my body, and I'm gonna hope for the best. And maybe I just trip him, but that is enough. Contact and he falls is enough to.
But the guy said 3 times. You might get lucky one time. You got to get 3. But
no, you have 3 chances.
3 chances to tackle him for 10 million.
And
if you get laid out the first time,
if he does run you over, then you immediately become a viral sensation as the guy that got destroyed by Derrick Henry.
You're right, Joe, and you probably make at least a good million. You make more than the $250K just off that.
And then you make a fake Bitcoin, just like the Hauck to a chick, and then you disappear forever.
I think, Joe, you had the real answer, which is today you take the 250. Tomorrow, when your kid is born, you've got dad strength, then you take the 10 million.
There you go.
Love it. Well, look, we are at the 10 o'clock mark. We're actually a little bit past it. Thank you guys for tuning in. We built several lineups tonight. Make sure you go and you sign up. The URL's been at the bottom scrolling all show long. playoff.ffadvice.com. You can sign up for our Smashup tournament. You can maybe put your own lineup together. Maybe you get lucky and you beat one of us and you walk home with the money. You qualify for the Super Bowl, and maybe you take home $1,000 and one of these bad boys. But, you miss all the shots that you don't take.
Yes, sir.
So make sure you're in the game.
Good quote, Michael Scott.
Thank you guys for coming, Seth, Joe, Chris. It's always a pleasure. Chris, has been an absolute blast partnering with you guys on this event. I'm looking forward not only this week, but we have next week left that's potential qualifier. And it doesn't matter if that's your first week playing, you can still have a chance at making the Super Bowl showdown. So until next time, until next Friday, we'll see you from the forum. You guys have a great weekend and good luck. Peace.
We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to FantasySportsAdvice.com.